Everyone, remember the last video we discussed three very different pieces of disruptive technologies within the healthcare and sciences industry. We discussed IBM Watson, metabolomics, and Wisemeyer. Refer to the previous video about the details on all three of them, as I don't want to take up too much time here. The tag is under healthcare and sciences if you would refer to that tag. The video today is going to be discussing IBM Watson and the four types of liabilities. The reason why we're discussing these topics and how they relate is who is responsible if a supercomputer, such as IBM Watson, makes an error in their diagnosis. And in order to explain how IBM Watson relates to the doctor, which relates to the patient, and how it is all one uniform system, I'm going to play a video for you called IBM Watson Health, from IBM Think Academy. I do not own this video. IBM Think Academy came up with everything that is in the video, and I just want to show it for about a minute to demonstrate how it all works and plays together. So I'm just going to play it for you now, and then we're going to discuss the four different types of liabilities afterwards.
Take Raul. Raul has a family, a busy job, and an active lifestyle. He also has a heart condition. It's mild, but it could worsen over time. He works closely with his doctor to monitor the problem, but they have difficulty finding medication that doesn't limit his busy lifestyle. And with the mountain of medical data available, it's nearly impossible to keep up with the latest treatments. Raul's doctor starts using a new app created from the Watson Health Cloud. It allows him to review Raul's personal and family medical history from other doctors, even insurance providers, and incorporate that information with data from Raul's Fitbit. This provides both Raul and his doctor with meaningful insights about his condition over time. Watson Health Cloud operates in an ecosystem environment. As in nature, an ecosystem brings together many contributors to keep the system functioning smoothly. Watson Health Cloud's ecosystem functions much the same way. It combines massive amounts of data and knowledge and brings together researchers, doctors, patients, pharmaceutical companies, and insurers in a secure and open platform.
So that's how it all relates and goes back together. But the reason I bring that video up is to demonstrate the power of IBM Watson #1, as well as bring forth the insight as IBM Watson is something that can be plugged in by doctors. The doctors plug in a patient's history, a patient's information, and Watson goes and reaches information from previous patients that are in IBM's health cloud, and solutions that are outside in medical journals, unstructured data such as tweets and blogs, and formulates an opinion that can be helpful to the patient at hand. So I took four different types of liability, one being strict liability, two being negligence, three being vicarious, and four being joint and several liabilities. So I just want to discuss for a little bit that Watson operates on a give and take system, meaning that people input their information into it and Watson stores the information from news articles, tweets, medical journals, etc. The video discusses four different types of liabilities, and the question that I really want to bring up and hone in on several times, it's going to be mentioned, is what happens when Watson makes a mistake? Is it the programmer who coded the software to make the device perform a specific action? Is he or she held responsible if Watson misdiagnoses a patient? When technology malfunctions, is the operator or owner held responsible if the technology causes harm? So is the doctor in this case responsible, or the hospital in which Watson's located in? It's all a matter of legality, and unfortunately the law hasn't quite caught up yet. This video is to just bring more so beginning insight as to what can happen in the future. So according to the legal dictionary, strict liability is a legal responsibility for damages, even if the person that's found strictly liable was not at fault or was negligent. So in other words, even if a situation arises where it is not your fault, your employer can be held strictly responsible for liabilities that arise from the situation. So previously in the law, there have been employers who are strictly liable for what their employees do, and in that regard, is Watson considered an employee of IBM, or is it considered a piece of technology that is developed by IBM employees and then distributed to the public? So who's responsible for when Watson makes a mistake? Again, with defectively manufactured products, the issue of negligence arises, the second form of liability. Cornell cites negligence as the failure to behave with the level of care that someone in ordinary prudence would have exercised under the same circumstance. So, in other words, there is a missing action that someone failed to complete which caused harm to another party. And in Watson's case, what if the system failed to provide a proper recommendation to a doctor treating a patient with a heart condition, such as Raoul, that's mentioned in the video, and that person was given the wrong medication? The wrong medication caused harm to the patient, which resulted in a lawsuit. Who is responsible to pay the damages in the lawsuit, and who is responsible for causing harm to the patient? Again, was it the doctor? Was it the actual supercomputer IBM Watson, which failed to give the proper diagnosis to the doctor, or is it the programmers? Again, the same question arises. Again, relating to negligence is another form of liability called vicarious liability, in which one party is held accountable for the actions of another. So let's take that same example from the video. Raoul is a patient that has a heart condition, and Watson provides the wrong recommendation to the doctor, whether that be a result from improperly logging in a patient's medical history, or whether Watson made a mistake and pulled from the wrong source of data. In vicarious liability, the doctor, the hospital, or the center the doctor practices in, and IBM Watson can all be held responsible. Providing that Watson is considered an employee of IBM, there are three parties that may have caused harm in this case: IBM Watson, employee number 1, IBM programmers, employee number 2, and the doctor who utilized Watson to treat his or her patient. Who in this sense would be responsible? IBM Watson can be that one party that can be held responsible for the actions made by the doctor after faulty recommendations were provided. So would you hold IBM responsible, or would it be the doctor? Again, same question arises with joint and several liabilities, which is a type of liability in which two or more parties are jointly responsible. So in this case, both the doctor and IBM Watson would be responsible for the fault of the patient, and therefore both would have to pay damages to that patient if anything were to occur. So the issues of liabilities is an important one, and I bring it up to not point fingers at one party or another, but to begin thinking about who is accountable when a mistake happens in the medical field involving a computer. Taking what has been said in this video, you've seen how IBM briefly works, and I'm going to post the link in the blog discussion so you can look at this video in its entirety, and I highly recommend that you do. Who do you think is responsible when our heart patient Raoul is prescribed the wrong medication? Is it the doctor? Is it Watson who assisted the doctor, or IBM itself? You decide based on the 4 different types of liability discussed in the blog post and that will be written down following the blog post. I would really appreciate your comments and feedback, and if you have any other questions, feel free to comment. Thanks for listening.